allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, I'm sitting over here to observe the 6 feet social distancing.
That's fine. I figured either one of us are under it.
Oh, no, it's Thank you, Lloyd.
Is Jean from
Yeah,
there?
yeah,
Jean's fine.
Looks good. Jean will start
Thank
with
you.
you this morning. You could just, kind of give us a quick overview of what's going on with, Manaway, the back and forth and the
Village
draft.
Council requested the mayor send us another request that we operate their facilities because they're, as she eloquently put it, bleeding money. It's costing them a considerable amount more than what we were charging somewhere in the neighborhood. Because for us, it was based on costs and varied from month to month.
Yeah.
Somewhere around 1.8 to 2 times more. So, yeah, and it's, EnviroLink's the name of the company, and it's pretty much charging market value for the services.
Mm-hmm.
So hence the village, after going through a couple of months and getting the request for proposals received, and EnviroLink was the only responder, they're asking for us to come back and help them. Our issue is really compounded now with coronavirus.
Uh-huh.
If we lose 2 employees, we're going to start losing permit compliance without paying overtime. And of course, everybody wants to go home at the end of the day and visit with their family, so it's becoming more and more critical. The only thing I can think of is if they want to enter into a long-term agreement for 10 years, that, and of course, I realize that's subject to fiscal appropriation year over year, but the agreement would stand for 10 years, and the board would be willing to hire 2 new employees that would be shared with all our facilities, and we would maintain Manaway as our facility, even though we wouldn't own it. So what that would mean is, in order to meet the permit compliance in a wastewater plant, we have to be there 20 hours a week, just as an example. Plus, we have to be there basically 5 days a week for half a day, and then on the weekends, we have to go in and do some manual work of cleaning the bar screens and getting the rags that are coming in the waste stream out, or otherwise the plant will flood, or somebody upstream will flood. So anyway, the long and short of it is we're there 7 days a week. The same thing's true on the water side. We have to be there every day because of chlorine residual and make sure the plant's operating fine. So we're probably going to be in a position that we're going to see, with the 2 new employees, some assistance on our side of the house too. That would be offset though, because if they need a mechanic, it's our mechanic going in. We didn't ask them to hire a mechanic. If we're going to have to respond to an emergency at their request, sewage backup, we would go up and do that. That would be an extra charge. My recommendation is to stay with the plants. We know the largest portion of the problems with Manaway is the age of their buried underground. I think they understand that now from doing the analysis and reviewing our work. But the simple fact of the matter is I'd like to offer them this if the board's in agreement, only because it would help us and help them, but equally, I can't in good faith do it with the current staff.
Well, you know what, Jean, I think this is a good option for them, especially for the fact that if this plant, since it is a public plant, if it was to go under, or they would become, to the point where they could not operate financially, it's my understanding that it would come back, probably the EPA would send it back to us anyways, correct?
The EPA has told me that they have only once in the state of Ohio for a water plant issued what's called findings and orders to the county commissioners and order them to take the plant over.
Yeah.
Sorry, you, as a county commissioner, becomes a dumping ground because it is the next step down from the state government, and they just order you to do it with the assumption that you should have the resources to do it. Well, that's not necessarily always the case. I would say if that occurred, that Manaway would lose all control, and we would have to go in and do what's in our customers' best interest, plus hopefully we don't get there.
And then if they're still interested in us eventually taking over if we get to that point, so it might be advantageous for us to still be in the loop as to what's going on. And
Well, and that's absolutely true, and we agreed, although it's not in journal entry anyplace, but we agreed that if Manaway became merged in with Portage County, that we'd have to hire these 2 employees anyway. So we're not walking forward to walk backwards, we'd be walking forward with a 10-year agreement, and the reason I would select 10 years is hopefully over time, we would be able to absorb those by our own expansion of service.
Okay.
I also provided, and I think Amy passed it on to you, some recommended language to go in the email that would transmit the letter to Manaway. If you're okay with that in the letter, I'll be happy to communicate that.
I thought the letter was well done and appreciate you doing that over the weekend and working hard to be responsive to
It's not a problem.
the villages.
To the villages, and like I said, I'm sure they'll be very appreciative, and it's still a cost savings. I mean, not
It
a whole
is.
lot, but they know what they're getting with you, and they trust you, and you're not gonna, you're gonna do what's best for the residents, like you do for the entire county.
It's a game plan.
Thank you,
Okay,
Jane.
thanks, Jean.
Thank you.
Please take care. All right. So let's move on to these resolutions. Now, Amy, I'm assuming we didn't receive any draft language on the potential web conference? Okay. I think that can be accomplished like last week where we did the motion on the creating the live stream. It would just be a small change to that. And what we're looking at is IT is working on an option for us under this Attorney General opinion and in consultation with the prosecutor, that we could, like other public bodies have been doing around the state in response only to this emergency, but web conferencing in, so we would be on video ourselves and not present here in the boardroom.
Like Skype.
Yes, and it would be
Yeah.
Skype likely, because that's part of the
Mhm.
Microsoft Office suite. There is a function, we don't have it totally worked out yet, but a function on Skype where we could potentially dial in. I know that I'm able to do that via my home computer.
Mhm.
Is that a problem for either of you? Should we be able to get there to dial in from your computers?
Yeah, and I received an email yesterday from Shannon Jenkins from IT, and she had me download the business version of Skype, because I guess there's 2 different versions of Skype. She said to make sure it's the business version of Skype,
Okay.
just so you guys know.
Yeah, I don't think I have that version, so I'll make sure to have that version. Right now, the thought is that that there's only one video stream that will be available via the live stream. And I'm not sure, I'd like it to be that every, just like we would look at it and I could see you, Amy, and a director. Ideally, that is what the public would see as well.
Mhm.
Just like they see now, except we wouldn't be in person, we would be, on a box, yeah. So I'm hoping that we can have that up and running by Thursday. So it's obviously it's a little hard in here to do the appropriate social distancing. It's better for us to stay at home. I think it's better for us to model that behavior when it's possible for us. So I'd like to make a motion to formalize the potential of us doing our meeting by web conference. And technically, nothing would change for the public's access. The live stream would still be
Mhm.
their access.
It's just that we're just not physically here doing it. We would be
Exactly.
remote.
Exactly. So
Okay.
let me just craft, okay, let me try this language based on Chris's, language from last week. So I hereby move to affirm and approve the direction taken by the president of this board, including affirming and approving that based upon the present situation created by COVID-19 and during this situation, that public meetings of this board will be via video conference, open to the public by way of live streaming at our webpage in lieu of public gathering in the commissioners' board meeting room.
I'll second.
Roll call, Amy?
Kathleen,
Yes.
Vicky,
Yes.
Sabrina.
Yes. I just want to let you guys know, I just got a text from David Yost's office, his liaison, saying that she's watching our meeting and the legislators are meeting Tuesday through Thursday to hopefully put a measure in place to handle sunshine and open meeting laws. We should have emergency measures in place at the very least this week, so.
That's helpful. Okay.
So we're looking at the first resolution then about the limited access.
I move the closing of the Portage County Administration Building to the general public and authorizing elected officials and appointed officials to adopt on an as-needed basis limited access policy for the provision of certain essential functions at the Portage County Administration Building.
And I will second.
If there's any discussion, I'll just point to the document that Amy just distributed. This was distributed via email last evening, but it has a few updates.
Mhm.
Thank you, Sabrina, for remembering to be in touch with the WIC program. I added that information based on your
Yeah.
email to us. The county recorder, who has worked incredibly hard to be ready to move to a limited access policy, still providing essential service to the public, but in this version that is on this handout, the county auditor still waiting on, and I think this can be simple, with the regional planning commission's language.
Mhm.
And I know Todd had emailed us that he would not be able to close off, but then I think he had continued conversations with the recorder and the auditor and tax map, and is feeling comfortable with the proposal that they jointly come up with. So I think can be a quick addition to this form. I know that the treasurer emailed and wants a sentence added. Veterans, I just added, talked to Rich McClellan this morning. I'm grateful to him for his flexibility as well. He was contacted late in this process and still rose to the occasion. So this is almost there, and I think I'm surprised that's the air happening right now.
You need air?
Is that getting you? Okay, so this is very close to being complete. I think it's okay that we approve in concept with the assumption that we'll have minor but not substantive edits to the document. And I think that this document should be shared publicly with the media and also be made available
With the press release.
Yeah, yeah. And possibly on our website as a listing in one place of ways that the public can understand how they can still access these important essential services.
And then they will update us if there's any changes to these then.
I think it's important when they do, Kathleen, to kind of highlight what is being updated, so,
Yeah.
you know, we don't have to read the whole thing again to get the gist of it.
You guys give me just a moment to read the revised. I think Does this specify that this starts tomorrow? Yes, okay, so we'll add in the resolve.
Yeah.
We're okay with tomorrow morning.
March 25th.
Okay, and I just want to stress again, we are adopting this plan that limits access to the
Yes.
county and our essential services via closing the building to
Walk-in.
public access. But the county is continuing to operate, essential services will continue to be provided. There are limited situations where an in-person appointment has to be conducted, and those situations are allowed under this plan.
Yes.
Encouraging the public to conduct as much business as possible via phone, via email, via post and delivery.
Yes.
But the building, for the safety of the public and our employees, and in the spirit of following these important social distancing recommendations, would be locked to the public at this time until further notice. So I want to thank everyone, both of you and also all of the people that worked with us, the elected officials, department heads, et cetera. Everyone was incredibly cooperative and bending over backwards to think of ways that we could still serve, but protect the public and protect our staff.
Well, like I said, I think the main thing is it's limited, not limited access. And I think that is the big concern. When people hear closing of the admin building, we needed to make sure we crafted it in a way that they understood that when we say we're closing it off, it's just to public access or limited access. And that it doesn't mean someone's locking the doors and there's no one here. Essential services are still being able to perform, which this document does. So great job.
All right, thank you, and with that, we'll do roll calling.
Vicki,
Yes.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Kathleen.
Yes. All right, the last resolution was talking about granting additional emergency authority to department directors. One of the things I want to be careful of is conducting business over email, and I understand the urge for quick answers and the need for it in light of the emergency, but I want to be careful that we're taking action at our public meetings. So I think that this resolution is drafted So the director would have leeway to make a decision.
Necessary actions.
Yeah, like to preserve the health or safety of their staff or the public. An example would be the communication that we got from solid waste about, the tweak to their policy about cardboard and not putting it next to the container.
Mhm.
I'm sure we all appreciated the heads up. I think that Bill probably, that is within Bill's power to do anyway.
Wheelhouse to decide.
Right, and this is just an example, this is just some language to make sure directors
Understand, they can.
feel that they have that authority and that they will then come back and update us when those activities happen. So trying to work within the sunshine laws, but also within a public health emergency and empowering our skilled and knowledgeable directors to do what is best
And necessary.
for their employees.
For the health and safety of their employees and the public in general.
Right.
I move to authorize the directors of the departments under the authority of the Board of County Commissioners to be able to take necessary action for the health, safety, and welfare of employees under the director's authority.
I will second.
Roll call, Amy?
Yes.
Sabrina? Yes. Kathleen?
Yes. That's all I have.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Roll call, Amy?
Sabrina?
Yes.
Vicky?
Yes.
Kathleen?
Thank you guys, thanks, Amy. Thank you.
Thanks. Do we have things to sign, Amy?
Yes.
Love that.
Of course.